In a world where history often overlooks the shadows, dong-jin remains a ghost. His life, a puzzle of espionage and patriotism, was hidden for decades. But today, we're piecing together the enigma of North Korea's most elusive spy. So, who was dong-jin, really? Was he a freedom fighter, an asset, or something more? The truth is a mix of all these, wrapped in a shroud of secrecy that even today leaves historians debating the true nature of his life. Dong-jin was originally born as Yom Young-taek on February 14, 1909, in Pyongyang, just a year before the Japanese occupation of his homeland began. Little is known about the realities of his upbringing other than what is left in official records, but it can be interpreted that his upbringing was likely a difficult one due to the repression and hostility of the Japanese regime. Yom's early education began at Chunghwa Gongnip Primary School, where he demonstrated academic promise. One particularly notable aspect of Yom was his purported multilingual ability. According to some reports, he was fluent in English, German, French, Japanese, and Chinese, a skill set that would have been invaluable in his later roles. His physical stature, combined with his skills in judo, where he achieved a black belt, also added to his formidable skill set. Yom finally graduated from the Sunrin Commercial School in Seoul in March 1931. His start in life was an ordinary one, and suggested nothing of his future life as charismatic leader and fascist agitator. Before beginning the next chapter of young dong-jin's life, we must first look at the political context that he was maturing into. The Japanese occupation of Korea was a period marked by severe repression, forced assimilation, and cultural erasure. The Koreans were subjected to harsh rule as Japan sought to solidify its control over the peninsula. However, this dark era also sparked a fierce resistance movement among Koreans, both within the country and abroad. Amidst this turmoil, a complex web of alliances began to form. Let me explain. The Korean Provisional Government, or KPG, was operating in exile from Shanghai from 1919. Their greatest allies were the Kuomintang, led by Chiang Kai-shek. And the Kuomintang were battling their own internal strife via the aggressive Chinese Communist Party and external threats, including the Japanese. The relationship between the Kuomintang and the Korean independence movement was crucial. This government in exile coordinated resistance efforts against the Japanese via their militant arm, the Korean Patriotic Organization, or KPO, and sought the assistance of the Kuomintang to bolster their cause. While the exact year is unknown, Yom fled to Shanghai and began working for the provisional government in his early 20s after university. While in Shanghai, Yom became aligned with Ji Cheong-cheon, a graduate of the Imperial Japanese Army Academy who defected to the KPG in 1919. After the Hongkou Park incident, where the KPO boldly bombed Japanese military and colonial personnel in April 1932, the Japanese launched a huge effort to capture them. The KPG mostly fled from Shanghai, and their activities were significantly disrupted for several years. From here, it's understood that dong-jin enrolled at Sun Yat-sen University in Guangzhou, China, in October 1933. He studied economics for just 4 months before attending a joint KPG-KMT training course at Luoyang Military Academy. The course was led by Kim Koo, leader of the KPG, and Ji Cheong-cheon. But Kim and Ji had disagreements on how to train the students, authority, and funding for the class. So, as a result, Kim transferred 25 students of his faction from the academy to another in Nanjing, while 9 students switched to Ji's side and began actively working against Kim, including Yom. Finally, on January 1, 1935, Yom and the others decided to join the Ji-aligned New Korea Independence Party. The party then had around 30 members. This was Yom's first experience of internal party politics, and it sowed seeds of future political violence. In June 1935, after a move to Nanjing, the KPG created a militant arm of the organization, of which Yom served as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. This only lasted 1 month, however, before they merged with Kim Won-bong's Korean National Revolutionary Party. Though Yom was dissatisfied by this arrangement due to the merger's left-leaning tendencies. He escaped in January 1936 and returned to Pyongyang, where he simply worked at a bookstore. During this period, Yom became linked with the Blue Shirt Society, a clandestine fascist faction within the Kuomintang inspired by German and Italian nationalists. Around the same time, he adopted the name Yom Dong-jin. Here's where things take a violent turn. While gathering intelligence for the KMT in Manchuria around 1936 or 1937, Yom Dong-jin was captured and subjected to brutal torture. However, there's 2 conflicting accounts of who was responsible for his capture. The widely accepted version is that Yom was arrested in March 1936 in Shancheng by the Kempeitai, the secret police of the Japanese Kwantung Army. During his interrogation, the severe torture led to the deterioration of his eyesight. Under this intense pressure, Yom allegedly agreed to work as a spy for the Japanese. But a report provided by Yom to a US counterintelligence corps agent, George Silley, counters the above narrative, however. This report provides much of what we now know about Yom, and was only declassified and released in 2001. Yom claimed that it was the Chinese Communist Party that captured and tortured him, blaming Kim Koo's betrayal for his ordeal. However, this account is largely dismissed by South Korean scholars, with historian Jung Byung-jun labeling it as slander and a poor attempt to hide his past as a double agent for the Japanese. After the Second Sino-Japanese War erupted in 1937, Yom, along with numerous Blue Shirt members, transitioned into the Statistical Survey Department of the National Revolutionary Army. Here, they engaged in espionage and intelligence-gathering operations on behalf of the KMT. It is suggested that Yom Dong-jin likely spied for Japan for roughly 8 years, from March 1936 to March 1944. During this time, he worked in Tonghua County, where he was employed by a cultural organization that scholars believe was a front for the Kempeitai's espionage activities. Yom's intelligence work didn't necessarily target Korean independence activists, but it's possible that they were sometimes compromised by his work. According to his family, a Japanese officer named Major Kurosaki utilized Yom's fluency in Chinese for anti-communist missions. Historian Jung Byung-jun supports this claim, noting that other Korean anti-communists collaborated with the Japanese out of convenience. However, Jung also suggests that Yom might have shared critical information about independence activists, which could have had dangerous consequences. A contemporary Chinese source provides further insight into Yom's activities between June 1940 and March 1944. According to the source, Yom gathered intelligence on underground organizations and anti-Japanese groups in northeast China, covering operations, movements, communications, and supplies. Over the course of 34 operations, he allegedly received a total of just 2,500 yen, equivalent to about $300 today. The theory that Yom was a double agent first emerged in Lee Yong-shin's 1993 book, Secret Organization White Shirt Society. Although Lee didn't initially disclose his sources, Jung later uncovered multiple intelligence documents, 2 Japanese, 1 Chinese, and 1 Korean, as well as testimonies from 9 graduates of the Luoyang Military Academy, all supporting the theory. Yom eventually returned to Pyongyang, though the exact timing is unclear, with estimates ranging from 1940 to 1944. Jung believes Yom returned in April 1944 to seek treatment for his worsening eyesight, and it was during this time that he married. In August 1944, Yom created the secret far-right militant group Daedongdan, composed of young North Koreans among whom were some middle school students, believe it or not. Shortly after, Yom is widely suspected of ordering the murder of Hyun Chun-hyuk, a major leader within the Communist Party of Korea, in 1945. Although Yom was arrested in connection with it, he was eventually released after his wife pleaded with Soviet General Andrei Romanenko for clemency. Later that year, he defected to the south on the advice of Daedongdan co-leader Park Go-bong, who remained in the north. After fleeing, Yom briefly returned to Pyongyang, where he called a meeting of the remaining Daedongdan members. He urged them to follow him south and join a reformed version of the group, which he renamed the White Shirts Society, in November 1945. Yom's charisma and reputation as a resistance fighter played a key role in recruiting new members for the WSS. He often recounted his past exploits, linking himself to the nationalist ideals of his previous organizations, which helped align the far-right actions of the WSS with the broader independence movement. All White Shirt Society members were required to be able to fluently speak in the local dialect of the region they were being sent to. This made it easier to embed and harder to detect. For each province, 2 native-born agents would be selected. As Yom's most trusted lieutenant, Park Hyun-yong served as the administrator for the training. According to disclosures by Yom from January to September 1946, the WSS collaborated with US counterintelligence in training by sending 20 spies each month to North Korea. Apparently, in early May 1946, WSS agents also infiltrated the North on behalf of US forces to gather intelligence on how the Soviets had been assisting troops in North Korea. These cross-border missions were short-lived due to tightened restrictions at the border and financial complications. By this time, Yom had become extremely secretive, sharing his schedule with no one and insisting that meetings be held one-on-one. He even kept the identities of other members hidden from each other. Silly claimed that Yom was guarded by 60 young men at all times and had survived multiple assassination attempts, earning him the nickname the Blind General. Although Yom had built up a reputation as the leader for WSS, things were eventually about to take a steep turn. The establishment of the First Republic of South Korea in August 1948 marked the beginning of the end for the White Shirts Society. With the diminishing role of private militant groups, many WSS members sought new employment, while approximately 100 remained unemployed. General Charles Willoughby, Chief of Intelligence for General Douglas MacArthur, requested Yom's cooperation for intelligence gathering on the North. This led to the formation of the Korea Liaison Office on June 1, 1949, absorbing many former WSS agents and stripping away much of Yom's legacy. The Korean War, which erupted on June 25, 1950, further diminished the White Shirt Society's influence. And during the First Battle of Seoul, Yom would see his downfall. While many evacuated, Yom decided to remain in Seoul during the conflict and vanished amidst the chaos. To this day, his fate remains a mystery as to what exactly happened to him. Whether he went into hiding after seeing his treasured WSS wither away or was captured and killed, we'll never know. Korea's division into North and South meant that many records were lost or destroyed during the conflict, and the ensuing Cold War further limited access to information. The shifting political alliances and the eventual rise of different regimes in Korea and China meant that the contributions of some figures were minimized or ignored altogether, depending on the political narrative being promoted at the time. So for now, that's all we have on one of Korea's most enigmatic and controversial figures, Dong-jin. Thank you for watching.